Well, it's a Tuesday. We'll see how this one goes. Brad Adam of Root Sports is brought to you by John Howie Steak. Entertain your next clients. Family and friends at John Howie Steak have the best dining experience in the city. Visit johnhowiesteak.com. It's Puck. I'm inside the Puck Sports Studios built by Limbeck Lumber. They are the Northwest premier supplier of specialized lumber and moldings. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbecklumber.com. Puck Sports Studios built by Limbeck Lumber. Brad is in the estate there on the east side.
And can you hear that, Puck?
Silence.
Quiet. Yeah. I got kids at practice. The oldest and Heidi off to Costco, which worries me a little bit, but I'm fine with it.
Well,
I've got the house to myself for an hour.
Shop for more offense at Costco? Is there something where...
Can you just buy that in the store? Yeah.
Does Kirkland make a second baseman or a DH?
Or a first baseman or anything.
A first baseman.
Really.
Can we start there? Can we start there?
Yeah,
with Ty France. Have you ever covered something like that before?
Never seen or heard of that.
That was weird.
Weird. Players get placed on waivers. That's pretty common to see if anybody will claim them. But they're usually not told. And this got out.
It's never supposed to. They're not supposed to know. It's not supposed to be public.
No. So this got out, and this was pretty pointed to get out, I think.
Yeah.
And to have Ty come out and talk to the media about the process and about him, getting released was just amazing. I mean, it was bizarre. I'd never seen that or heard that before. When they said he was going to talk at 3, and I was like, Ty's talking? Like, what? Really?
And he comes out signing autographs too.
Yeah, just having a fun time out there, playing shortstop, hanging out with JP pregame. But he had on a white Adidas shirt and the bone for his Perry Hill's coach, nickname's Bones. He had the bone hat on, so no Mariner gear. So you knew something was up. Then he cleaned out the locker last night. So while technically there's a chance that he could still come back, it doesn't look likely. And he'll find out today at noon which teams have claimed him. And you hear some of the names like San Diego's interested, which would be great for him. A fellow Aztec, he played there, so that's awesome.
Be hilarious Boston, if he went to Houston.
Houston, because, right? I mean, he and Singleton at first base, who's not great, but they would be a lefty-righty platoon. Maybe Ty plays defense, late in games because he's better at first. But that would be an odd fit from our standpoint. But I mean, from Houston's standpoint, they've seen him when he was good for 3 years. So it's like, maybe take a chance on him. It's pretty cheap. It's like $2.5 million. And maybe they do that. But it was odd, the timing kind of, and him, I mean, I know he's been struggling. No doubt his numbers aren't great, but I looked at the lineup last night, Puck, and there were 7 batters hitting less than Ty France. 7 in that lineup last night.
You think something happened?
Wow. I don't know.
Like something behind the scenes, a disagreement, an argument, and I want to say this real quick. Yeah. This waivers that he was placed on, it again, for people who don't know,
irrevocable.
Because it can be confusing. He was not supposed to know, that he was placed on it. And certainly the public was not supposed to know. So when it came out. So, however he found out, because I'm with you, it feels like this came from the France camp, then it didn't come from the Mariners camp. But I don't know. Maybe the Mariners put it out there. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But because I'm trying to make sense of like, why would they want it? Why would the team want it out there?
I don't think they would.
So why would the players camp want it out there? I mean, whatever.
I don't know.
Be like, hey, they're to try to.
Make them look bad
look bad. Yeah, maybe. But again, and Jim Duquette explained this yesterday on yesterday's show, former GM of the Orioles and Mets, like there's going to be, when they find out, if they find out, Major League Baseball will be a hefty fine. They'll fine
for leaking this because you're not supposed to, right?
Yeah, it's not supposed to.
Right.
Because I was talking to Divish about it, and Divish was like, how many times have they done this before where you have no idea? You have zero idea that they have done this.
Right. A lot of guys with bad contracts, right? You put them out there, you hope somebody might take them.
So just explain it to the fans, because I think there's some fans, and I would, including myself, that was not even aware that, that really should not have
Right.
ever been public. But do you think there was something else behind the scenes that led to some disagreement that they just said, we're done. We're moving on now?
Not that I've heard of. The fact that he's, on just a 1-year deal, an arbitration deal, it was $2.5 million. They'd probably like to try see if Tyler Locklear can be their guy going forward.
Sure.
That kind of makes sense. For some of the other guys that have got bigger contracts, maybe they don't want to just give up on them just yet.
But why is Vossler here then?
Well, that's a good question too. I think Bliss needs to play, and he was clearly not going to play here. His last couple of plate appearances, he was just overmatched. I mean, he's swinging at everything and striking out every time and just not playing, because Polanco has been playing better at second base.
Right. Could we not say the same thing about Locklear? So where's Vossler going to play?
I think Vossler is the kind of utility role now, especially with JP out, and Dylan Moore is going to play shortstop. So now Vossler is going to be your utility guy. It's kind of like, I love it. It's a great story. He's been in the majors a little bit, cup of coffee, as they like to say, but 10 years in the minors, a 30-year-old. I think it's a cool story. I like when guys keep grinding to get up. But I think he's going to be a guy, kind of reward for having a great season so far in Tacoma, and just be that guy now that'll play around. And with JP going out, it'll be interesting to find that news out today. I mean, a hairline fracture in the pinky. We were talking to Val last night post game. Even, throwing is no problem. Your pinky's not really on the ball, but just that really fast motion. Anytime, anything like that with a broken finger, you're going to feel it. And he thought batting is going to be difficult because that's his, hand that pulls the bat through, and the pinky's on that bat. And he thought that was going to be difficult for him.
Best case scenario is what?
I mean, normally with the fracture, any type of thing like that, it's 6 to 8 weeks. But if it's just a pinky, and I don't know, obviously I'm not a doctor, but his pain threshold and it's a pinky, can you get around that?
You're not a doctor, huh?
I'm not technically a doctor. Well, in certain countries, I'm allowed to do surgery.
Certain countries, you could be a doctor. Well,
so can he get around that? I don't know. Could it be a week or two? I don't know. I mean, we'll find out more. He'll know more today when he feels it and sees what it feels like. Same with Julio with that ankle sprain. It doesn't seem like it's a high ankle sprain.
Yesterday was a real craptastic day for the Mariners. I mean, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
You got the Julio thing. I mean, still, it looks like you avoided a major scare, but still is going to be out. The thing with France, you got Scott Service, who, whether people thought it was overdue
dejected,
or he just, pissed off. I mean, how many times he's done a post game with his hat off? I mean, he was not pleased with the situation.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, he went after his players for the first time.
Yeah, when you see that outing by Miller, that was just so good, and you're set up fine, and then you just walk guys. The two out walks in the ninth inning,
brutal.
And the guy scoring from first on a ground ball up the middle. I mean, that's like your little league team, right?
Well, yeah.
No offense to your all-star team.
No.
But that's, you kick one away and you get 2 runs there.
You can't have a throw from shallow center field hit the mound. No. That's that can't happen. I mean, and I was, I haven't really paid attention to much of his defense, but your coworker Bill Kruger, we talked to him yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, the one," because I said, he's got to play every day.
Yes.
Offensively, he's the only thing that's going right now.
Yep.
And he said, "I agree with you, but he scares me." And I said, "Well, what do you mean he scares you?" He goes, "Defensively, he scares the life out of me." and I'm like, and so then I thought back, and he started going back through some plays this year, and specifically like fly balls and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're kind of right. Like there's
first one he dropped,
but then there's a couple others where he misjudged and lost it in the sun
a couple of times. Yeah,
and then the Alex Bregman one that I forgot about, where he didn't throw it in right away, and then he lobbed it in, and then Bregman was advanced, and you're like, okay. And then yesterday, I'm like, wow, that's a terrible throw.
A terrible throw.
But he's got to play. But he has to play every day.
Yeah, 2 more hits. Yeah, he's the only guy hitting, right? I mean, he's 500 his last 6 games. So, yeah, he has to hit, and he's hitting second, and he'll probably hit leadoff.
Probably hit leadoff, right?
Yeah, I would think so, with JP out. But, it's just, I mean, the offense went back to kind of what we've seen all year, right? 4 hits last night, 14 strikeouts.
14 strikeouts.
Against the Angels. And Tyler Anderson, now, he was good in Seattle. He's an all-star. He's probably going to be moved. He's a quality starter. But, I mean, he's throwing 88-mile-an-hour fastballs and a great changeup. I get that. Not a big strikeout guy, but for him to get 8 through 5 1/3, and the bullpen come and just mow guys down. It just wasn't a night, and it's like, man, you get a nice win on Sunday. You get some hits, you score some runs, some home runs. You beat Houston, you're back in first. Here come the Angels. They're terrible. Let's go. And it just wasn't there.
Why do I not remember really fondly the Tyler Anderson stint here? I mean, I honestly, I know that he pitched here.
It was a year and it was good, and they didn't sign him, and the Dodgers did, and he was an all-star. He won like 17 games for them. He was an all-star for the Dodgers, and now he's an all-star for the Angels.
I just don't remember him all that
He was
much.
pretty good here. Yeah, I don't remember his record, but I know he was good. Let's just say he wasn't the most outgoing guy. Can I just leave it at that?
Sure. You leave it however you want to leave it. I just don't remember him all that much.
That was, and they didn't want to sign him.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just seem like, for a team that's tied for first right now, it just seems like the boat is sinking. And I know it's
for
not,
sure,
but boy, does it feel like that.
It does, and Houston's like on the other trajectory, right? How good they've played, they've caught up, they've figured some things out. They're not gonna stay this hot all year. They got shut out last night in Oakland, but you're right. The Mariners, as good as they've pitched, they're 6-10 this month, and the starters' ERA is like under 3. It's just quality start after quality start. It's just a matter if the bullpen can hold a lead or if they can score a run or two to win a game.
11 of 16 starts, they've had quality starts. Right. They've lost 7 of them.
Think about that. It's amazing. And they had a 5-game losing streak. Their first 5-game losing streak in over 2 years. Think about that. Every team goes through that, but they don't because of the pitching. But then you're like, God, can these 5 guys be good every single start for the rest of the season? Maybe, right? 60 games left. Can they do it? But what a luxury that they have when you look at, like, let's just take Houston and their rotation, right? They came here, they had their best 3 starters, and they were good starters. They won the series, 3 good starters. And then they've got that Arrighetti guy who lost last night, and they've got a guy, Bloss, going today, who the Houston guys told me, he's a double-A pitcher. No chance that he has to be in this league. So that's who they're rolling out for their 4 and 5 starters. Meanwhile, the Mariners have Miller and Wu. They're 4 and 5 starters. There's just no break for any team in any series, so it's not like you can say, well, Houston's going to have to score like 6 runs tonight to win. The Mariners never have that problem. They just can't do anything consistently offensively. But still, it's like you look at the teams, you're like, well, I think the Mariners still have the advantage because of the pitching. 60 games to go. I like their staff against anybody. But then, Houston's going to get Verlander back. They're going to get Garcia back. They're going to get Tucker back. Texas is going to get a bunch of guys back too. They're only 4 back, Texas right now. So the next 60 games will be very interesting. And the Skip talking about it, like you pointed out, Puck, post-game last night, he's like, it's getting to be a sprint. You got 60 games. We'll see how the players respond. Do they want to play in the playoffs or do they want to go home?
My thing with these guys, what if they have another 1 or 2 more of these games this week? Does ownership overreact? Does Dipoto overreact? I think all of it's on the table, and we've seen this happen, and usually it's the manager that loses their job first. And I'm not saying that's the right thing. I'm just saying that the way this is gone right now and how dejected and how fed up he was on Monday, does it like, hey, let's see if we can get a spark. Let's make a change. I don't know. They don't have, they're both playing for contracts next year because they don't have contracts.
Well, how about this? What if they, lose a series to the Angels? They've lost 4 straight to the Angels. What if they lose another one? They go on the road to Chicago, right? White Sox and Boston. Mm-hmm. What if they go 2-4? What if Houston? What if they're 4 back around the trade deadline? Do they sell? Right? Do they change and do they say, hey, our offense, we just can't sustain this.
I think there's some already hinting at that now. Like how much
trade
are they,
some guys? I don't know.
How much are they really willing to be all in here at this deadline if they think that, hey, we can't go all in on one player and give up some of our top prospects because we just don't think that one player can make much of a difference? I would assume those conversations are happening.
Sure. Sure. I mean, that would be tough for a fan base to swallow because
man.
I still think, even if they're 2-3 out, I mean, again, with the pitching, I just think they're going to be there all season long. And I just don't think the West has never been more winnable, with Houston down and Texas under 500 still. I don't know. I feel like this is really the year. And I checked today, Puck, the Mariners would not be in the playoffs if the season ended today because the wild card, they got teams in the Central and Boston better records. So they almost have to win the West, it seems like, to get into the postseason. And I think you got to do all you can to take that division.
Well, because once they get in with their pitching staff and just how they
you can win 1-0 and 2-1, and nobody will complain. No one will complain about the offense.
Not in the postseason. They won't.
Not in the postseason.
It doesn't matter how you win games. Just win in advance and move on. No one gives a shit about that. But it's like right now it's. It's just a level of frustration because it's been happening.
Absolutely,
been happening for years. This storyline is no different than what it's been for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just the irony of it. It was this last offseason was the whole we gotta get better at contact and get the strikeouts. And my God, you would in a heartbeat take back Teoscar, Kelnick, and Suarez right now in a heartbeat would have those guys back.
All having. Except Gino's in around 200, but I mean, Kelnick's got as many home runs as Julio. Yeah. Teoscar's got 20 and 67. And I think
that's it. And I'd like to get some true serum there to Scott's service. I would really, really like to know how much that trade of Suarez bothered him. We've always heard about how him and DePote are on the same page. I'm just gonna make a guess. I bet you they weren't on the same page on that one.
Yeah, Gino.
I bet you he loved him.
They loved him. Yeah,
but he specifically, Service loved him, and I don't know. I bet you that one was like, hey man, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
I get he strikes out, but it's not just what he does on the field for us defensively,
and he
offensively.
Plays every day.
Plays every day. But he is the guy, glue guy we need, and we didn't replace him with anybody.
No, you're right. And they tried to, right? But here's another thought too. Okay, so they get a guy, I don't even know what. Say you get some offensive guy, not a Vlad, but somebody to help out, right? Somebody you think's going to be better. What can you expect out of somebody in 2 months, hitting at T-Mobile Park, where it's proven that it's just really hard to hit. Opponents can't hit there, partly because of the Mariners pitching. I get that. But the Mariners haven't hit there for years. It's just hard to hit there. Teo talked about it at the All-Star break. Yeah. That was nice, Teo. So you bring a guy in to say, hey, thanks, Teo. We need you to hit 15 home runs these last 2 months to really carry us to the postseason. Well, is that realistic?
There's not this goes back to this stuff needed to be addressed in the offseason.
Yeah.
And not address it at the deadline where you've got to now part with prospects.
Right. And everybody knows, right? We talked with Justin Hollander on the air. Yeah. It's everybody knows you want hitting. And that makes it somewhat harder, right?
Sure. They can squeeze you on talent.
They're like, you need this guy. This guy. It's going to cost you more because you need bats.
I think the only guy that I'm giving up any capital for is Guerrero. If Toronto wanted to do it.
Right.
I know, and Duquette said they're warming up a little bit, but that's the one guy. But here's the thing. It's got to be on ownership to say, all right, but a year from now, we've got to pay him.
Right.
And make him an offer he can't refuse.
And with Bichette out, you saw him with a calf injury. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. So he's not going to be traded. So maybe Toronto's like, well, do we keep one? Do we tank? They're losing. I don't know what they're going to do with their team. Maybe Vladdy's more available now. Because with Bichette down, I don't think they've got a chance to get back in the race. Not that they really did anyway. Yeah. But then you're right. You got him for another year, and then you pay him or let him walk. I don't know. Thinking about that, man, I was watching. You see the home run Shohei hit the other day?
Yeah.
At a Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
He's rounding the bases, and I'm thinking to myself, the Angels are in town. I'm like, these guys had him for 5 years or 6 years. Yeah. Never made the postseason. Never had a 500 record. And then let him walk and got nothing for best player in the history of baseball. That's the Angels for you. I mean, can you imagine?
It's just amazing.
Yeah, Artie Moreno, the owner, said he didn't want to be, written down in history as the owner who traded the best player ever. Well, guess what? You trade your farm system for marginal talent at the deadline last year, thinking you make a run, and of course you didn't, and now he walks. So you're the Angels. Wow. Anyway, that's just a little side, but yeah.
No, I got you. Yeah.
So when you get a guy, you got to sign him. You're right. If you trade the farm for Vlad, you get him for a year and 2 months, and then he goes. I don't know.
The hope
it's worth it if you go to the playoffs, right? If you go to the World Series, then I'm all in.
But the hope is that you convince him to stay. But I know that's the hardest thing in the world because it feels like no one ever wants
hitting
to come
here. That would be hard to sign a hitter. Unless he's 35 looking for the last year.
I just being glass half empty right now. I'm so convinced nothing's going to happen. Like a bullpen arm. Okay, yeah, maybe
something, but like
that. But they're like nothing impactful. No impactful bat.
Another gamble like on a Robles type player that he could find something.
Yeah, like a Toro. Maybe they get Caballero back. I mean, because Duquette said yesterday. I mean, and again, I understand this to a degree, but Jim was like. He talked to the Rays GM, and they was like, "We're gonna listen."
Paredes, right?
But then he's like, apparently, according to Jim, that Duquette, not Moore, because he would never.
Good old Moore. He would never
report anything. He doesn't know anything. But that they're not interested in those right-handed bats.
The Mariners aren't.
No. That just doesn't interest them.
Because lefty.
Well, Paredes, especially because I didn't know this until I think Divish pointed out. Every one of his home runs is a pull home run. You know that
left field. Yeah,
every single one. That is amazing. That's really amazing. So
that's why I saw Duquette. He said Houston would be a good fit for him, right?
Yeah,
those Crawford boxes.
He'd be
imagine
a great fit.
Just spin to win the left field.
That's where you got to be concerned. And I know the Mariners have a better farm system and all that.
Yes,
according to those outlets to look at it, but. I don't know. You imagine Houston going out and getting him and then pull off a trade for a starter, and then it's just they're
going to have to get a starter, yeah.
Well, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this Tyler Anderson that we saw last night.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be a good fit for him, but yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, you're right, what the division guys do, what this looks like August 1st. The Mariners, Texas, and Houston. Because, again, Texas is getting some all-stars back in the lineup.
Sure.
DeGrom, they say, is coming in August. They could use another starter. See what they do. See how aggressive they are. See how aggressive Houston is. But you're right. They don't really have anything in their system to trade. So that'll be interesting to see what those teams do and kind of the other teams, too, in the American League. Because, I mean, Mariners are, again, behind those central teams, behind Minnesota, behind Kansas City. How aggressive are they? The whole deadline's interesting. You can't get really fixated on rosters now. You got a week to go, but I know that this one needs to improve, and they say that, they know that, they're trying, but are they allowed to? That's another big story, right? Well, can they spend some money? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge question. I think that's a question everybody has, is whether or not they truly are allowed to go out and spend money, because the indication, at least the past, has been that they're not. Past offseason was they weren't right. allowed to do anything. So I don't know how much that changes, if it does change at the deadline. If nothing happens, I at the deadline here in less than a week, which is a week away, right? This is the breaking point, I think, for those fans that haven't broke yet. Would be my guess. I just think that people will, if we're a week from now and they just stand pat, and then they come out and are like, well, we tried, but we just couldn't get a deal done because too many teams are still alive. People, whether that's the truth, and there is a certain degree to truth to that. I get it. Mm-hmm. But these fans don't want to hear that.
No, that would not go over well, especially if they miss the playoffs. Now, if somehow they don't do much and they spin it and they end up winning the West.
We're going to acquire JP and Julio later in the season.
There you go. It'll be like adding a bat. I love that one. I love that line. Then I guess some would be forgiven, if they do go to the postseason and have any type of success. But then you have all these questions and conversations off season, as well. But it's not going to go away because of how the roster is constructed and how they're performing. You know, they need just a major overhaul. And, you know, I don't know if they're able to do some of that at the deadline, some of it off season, all of it off season, or, you know, we shall see. We shall see, my friend.
It's just
they need a bullpen arm, though. They've got to get a bullpen.
Well, I mean, you saw it yesterday. I mean,
exactly.
Listen, you turn to a guy who in the last few games just cannot throw a strike. And Stanek, I mean, he is – I'm going to watch that. His first pitch was like he almost threw it to the backstop.
Yeah. That's why Houston just, you know, gave up on him. He just couldn't throw strikes. He throws 100. But sometimes it looks good, but it's just not consistent.
What I didn't understand, and I know there's a lot of people coming out with the pitchforks here on a Tuesday for Scott's service, and again, I always think it's the most important person, everyone says this, is the person who puts the team together, and the ownership, really, and then it's the manager. But I do think the manager's got to, you know, he's got to manage personalities and all that kind of stuff, and the flow of the locker room or the clubhouse. But what I don't get is, and I know that Munoz threw 12 on Sunday, 10 pitches. He faces 2 batters. We can't leave him in the 9th inning. He can't throw. He can't get up to 20. This is, you know, he talked about it afterwards, how it's a sprint, not a marathon.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's go time.
Yeah.
So we got to win the game.
I think I agree. I thought he'd come out for the 9th, but maybe their thinking was if. Excuse me here, Puck.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if I've ever sneezed on.
No, but it was
TV
great.
I
enjoyed it. It was wonderful. Good for you.
I think they're thinking it was 1-1. It's a non-safe situation. Yes.
Yeah.
They can play forever and win last night. Save Munoz for today. But I agree with you. Like, why not rub them out in the 9th and then just try to win it in the 9th? Or maybe they're thinking ahead to today.
Pretty much going to save that for a drop when you said that. You know? Did you say run him out for the 9th? You said run him out, right?
Sure. Run him out.
Okay. It really
not rub them out.
It really sounded like you said we're going to rub him out. Excuse me?
Rub them out.
Okay. Oh.
In the 9th inning. Yeah.
All right.
But then, you know, you don't expect Thornton to have two out walks.
No, of course not.
I mean,
he makes me nervous every
to the
time,
Angels. I mean, Joe Adell, the guy hits 198 and just
a
3-run homer against the Mariners on Sunday to win, and then that that base hit yesterday. So I don't know. New Mariners killer. He's a new Mike Trout.
He does.
Who, by the way, starting today a rehab, and they think he might be ready to play on Thursday.
Let's get him.
The day after the series. So we miss Mike Trout here.
He probably would have hit like a 3-run home run. He's never struggled to hit in Seattle. Why don't we go get him?
Yeah, would that cost you much?
Yeah, just everyone. But why not? It'd be more fun to watch him hit. Well, this should be a very interesting week, I think.
Very
interesting.
Got a
real potential to be a real kind of altering, season-changing, altering, career franchise-altering week, I think. I don't know.
Right. When you find out news today about what's happening to Ty, what's happening with JP, what's happening with Julio.
If you drop a couple more I don't know. I just think this thing could spin out of control, and all of a sudden, you know, you got heads flying off and changing, and I mean,
it'll be fun
for their sake, but
right, it'll be a fun podcast for us next week.
Yeah, well, it would be trade deadline.
They're all fun, though.
They are
fun.
Come on, yes, they are.
They're all fun.
All right, there he is.
I got about an hour solo time, so I don't know what I'm going to do.
Take it. You know, relax and have some fun with it. You got the house to yourself, all right?
Eat whatever I want, do whatever I want.
Just do whatever you want. You know, just do whatever you want.
I might chip inside, right? Chip inside.
Chip inside. Maybe, I don't know if it's open yet, but if you could go to John Howie Steak and get a morning steak. All right. John Howie Steak brings John every week.
Yeah, I'll call John, see if he open up early for me.
Open up early. I'd like a ribeye with an egg on top.
Oh, yeah, a little garlic mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's good for you. I think you can have it anytime.
Yeah, love it.
All right, Brad, we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Puck.
There he is, Brad Adam, weekly, every Tuesday, brought to you by John Howie Steak here at pucksports.com. Again, watch on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, at pucksports.com.